Okay, so today I'm gonna give you a review on the paper called Do Quantum Circuit Board Machines Generalize? So let's first see why this is an interesting topic. So here's the motivation of this paper. So quantum circuit board machine is a type of a unsupervised generative model. So compared to unsupervised generative models, supervised and discriminative learning models have a well-established evaluation criteria for generalization, such as generalization error. But however, unsupervised generative models does not have clear evaluation criteria. So, so in this paper, the authors attempt to see if the quantum circuit board machines generalize and also try to propose some generalization matrix. So recent evaluations on quantum generative models are limited because they only think about the memorization capability. So in this paper, they're trying to develop new evaluation matrix to see how well the model generates new samples, both in the training data and not, and from an underlying and unknown probability distribution. So what is a quantum circuit board machine? As I said, quantum circuit board machine is a type of unsupervised generative models, and other well-known unsupervised generative models also include GAN, RBM, TNBM. So the purpose of these models is to learn an unknown probability distribution from a set of unlabeled data. So mathematically written, these models attempt to learn a target distribution P given the training set D, which consists of vectors which consists of training data. And then the trained model is queried in order to generate samples, which is a set of generate samples from the trained model. So let's see what QCBM is. So on the right side, you can see the ansatz that is used to learn the QCBM. So this ansatz basically consists of a layer of single rotation gates and another layer of entangling gates. And these layers are repeated in order to make the models more complex if required. So QCBM learns a quantum state psi via training a PQC, a parameterized quantum circuit unitary U theta, such that when this unitary is when the initial state is evolved according to this unitary, the resulting state is the target quantum state. And then the users can sample from the learned state to get the probability distribution of our trained model. And in this paper, in order to learn this model, they use the cost function NLL, which is a negative log likelihood, and optimization function called CMAES. And here are the proposed evaluation matrix. In this paper, the authors evaluate the generalization in terms of validity and quality. So basically, validity-based generalization matrix evaluates whether the sampled queries are valid according to the target distribution that we are trying to learn. And the authors propose these 5 different matrices. And as long as I know, the upper 3 matrices are the author's own newly proposed matrices, and the bottom 2 matrices are the matrix from the previous works. And another criteria is the quality-based generalization. And the purpose of the quality-based generalization matrix is to check whether this model can learn an introduced bias in the underlying probability distribution. So here's the results of the simulation. So the simulation detail is that the authors use a 12 cubic QCBM to learn the cardinality constraint target distribution PX. So the solution space S of this problem is the bit strings with a specific number K that is chosen by the authors of ones. So for example, the bit string 1001011 it can be the solution when K is 4. And as a result, the target distribution is a uniform distribution. So when K is 6, the size of the solution space would be 924. And in the simulation, the authors used a randomly initialized circuit, and they used a max duration 10,000. And for the sampling at the end of the for the evaluation, they sampled for 10,000 times as well. So here are the results. So if you look at the first graph, it shows the KL divergence of the model with respect to the training distribution and with respect to the target distribution. And here we can see that there's no overfitting in the model because the KL divergence of the training is larger than KL divergence of the with respect to the target distribution. And the rest of the graphs represents the 5 metrics that I showed in the previous slide. So it shows that the x-axis represents the training step, and each line represents the quantum circuit board machine with a different number of layers. So in this experiment, the authors attempts to see if the complexity of the quantum circuit board machine gives a better generalization performance, and then the result is yes. So for example, if you look at the second graph here, the yellow triangle here is the result from the quantum circuit board machine with 16 layers. And the circle line here is the result from the quantum circuit board machine with 2 layers. As you can see, the result from the 16 layers QCBM shows a higher fidelity, and that represents that more expressive QCBM can generalize better. And the rest of the graphs also basically says that the QCBM with a higher complexity generates more quality solutions. And here's another result from the quality-based generalization metrics. So in the previous example, the authors were trying to learn from a uniform distribution, but in this setting, the authors are artificially introduce some bias to the target distribution and try to see if the QCBM can learn the bias that's in the target distribution. So the small graphs in each within each graphs represents the bias induced. So if you see the first graph, this is a bias induced to the uniform QCBM. And if you look at the third graph, more bias is introduced in the uniform distribution. So the way they introduce this bias is by assigning a cost into each samples, so that for example, in the third graph, there are higher bias. We can see the higher biases induced in the target distribution because the samples with a lower score is more likely to appear. So comparing these two graphs, we can see that the third graph, third QCBM generates more data with a lower separation score or lower cost. And also we can see that it also generates some samples that are beyond the training data that we train the QCBM with. So that in this sense, we can see that QCBM also can QCBMs are also capable of learning some bias that's artificially introduced to the target distribution. Yeah, yeah, I think the slides were kind of mixed. This is another result from the validity-based matrix. So in this problem set, in this experiment, the author is trying to see if the training data set size affects the generalization capability. So the epsilon here on the x-axis represents how much of the solution space was used in order to train the QCBM. So for example, 0.2 means that only 0.2% of the solution space were used to train the QCBM, and 0.8 represents that 80% of the solution space was used to train the QCBM. In this experiment as well, we can see that there's no overfitting in the model because the KL divergence with respect to the training distribution is larger than the KL divergence with respect to target distribution. And also we can see that as we use more portion of the solution space, the KL divergences converges. And also the rest of the graphs represents the performance of the generalization with respect to different numbers of layers. Here we can see that also the QCBM with more layers, which means that more complex or expressive quantum circuit board machines shows a better generalization capability. So the conclusion of this paper is that the authors try to introduce generalization matrix for QCBMs. And also they provided some numerical experiments to show that QCBMs can generalize, both in terms of validity and quality. And also it showed that the deeper and more expressive circuits can generalize better. But one thing we need to note is that for this problem setting, the authors had an idea what the target distribution is, but actually in the real world, when we're using the unsupervised generalized machines, unsupervised generative models, we do not know the target distribution. So I'm not sure whether these metrics can be also applied to different problem settings. Yeah, so that was the end of the presentation. And yeah, thank you for listening.
Okay, thank you for the presentation. There are any questions?
Yeah. Why overfitting is not happening? So basically it shows that the KL divergence with respect to training data, I mean the training distribution, is larger than the KL divergence with respect to the target distribution. So that the model trained is more closer to the target distribution. So we can verify that there's no overfitting is happening. If there's overfitting, the KL divergence with respect to the training data should be lower than the KL divergence with respect to the target distribution.